Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Who we got?
The CEO of Acorns, Noah Kerner. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank
Or
you.
DJ Noah.
DJ Noah.
Was
DJ.
that your DJ name?
Yeah, it was just my name.
Just
Yeah, talk
DJ
to the
Noah
mic.
Kerner.
Yeah, it was just my name.
Oh, you used to DJ for J.Lo, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You said right like you remember like back in the day. You would see him behind J.Lo or
I
something.
did.
Shut up, man.
He used to be in the Bronx all the time.
He was never in the Bronx.
He was definitely in the Bronx. He's the one who coined the term Jenny from the Bronx.
That's right.
Jenny from the block.
Or
Or whatever.
Jenny from the Bronx.
He used to do block parties, right, Noah?
Right.
See?
He's never seen you before.
That's how I have. He built the ark.
Yo, shut up, man. So
That
Noah,
was-
how did you get into? You started off as a DJ. So how did you get into DJing?
I grew up in the city downtown on the east side. I was a public school kid, you know, just surrounded by it, and I got into it just by watching it. I was fascinated by it. I loved the beats mostly. That was for me, and I just got turntables when I was 13. It was drums or turntables. My father said turntables probably makes more sense. We were in like an 800 square foot apartment, so drums probably would have been too crazy
And loud.
and loud. So I got turntables and just started like committing myself to it for 2 years. I locked myself in my bedroom every night, watched all the battle tapes. I watched Qbert, Scratch,
Hubert.
Premier, all these
Scratch.
guys, right? And just kept working at it. And then, mostly my friends thought I was going to be terrible, so that meant I had to be great at it. So by 16, I started doing nightclubs, and that was it. That was the journey.
Not
How'd you
even
hook up
old
with
enough
J.Lo?
to drink, but going to the clubs and DJing.
Exactly. Benny Medina, her manager. So I was doing a lot of clubs and parties, and then I started doing some parties for her, and then she had me join her band to play shows.
And how was that? How was that experience?
It was
Traveling the country.
It was incredible. That and touring with other people, it was incredible to see kind of what America looked like, because I was a city kid. I didn't really know anything else about America, so I got to see how America is. And that was the beginning for me of understanding how this country works, how the conditions people are in. So that was a really interesting experience.
I've had so many homies, especially from New York, especially white homies from New York, who grew up in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So they don't realize how much of a bubble it is
Right,
until
right.
they start to go see the rest of the world.
Right.
Yeah.
How did your parents feel about you being so young and traveling like that?
They were supportive. They were all about creativity and curiosity. So my father would sit there watching me do this. He had no idea what I was doing, but watching me do it. And they just always inspired me to be curious, to ask why, to strive for more. And that was a cool thing about growing up in the city too, taking the train at 11 years old. That
Yeah,
kind of thing.
true.
But
Can you expound on that, though? I mean, because I said white homies, but it's not just a white thing. People in New York in general
yeah,
be in a bubble
yeah,
till they go see the rest of America.
yeah. It's a good bubble though.
Yeah.
It was
Maybe. I'm from the South, so you know.
Okay. Well, but for me, it was a bubble of growing up around everybody, everything. Like I did, but then seeing the rest of the country and Acorns, Acorns serves everyday Americans everywhere. Like actually, the South is where we're growing the most. But it was a bubble that I thought, this is what everything should feel like and look like. And so that was a cool way to grow up, And DJing was an interesting experience for me because I was really passionate about it, but I sort of felt like I'm a little outside of it, so I need to respect it, but I love it. I love the beats and all this kind of stuff.
Were you familiar with DJ Envy?
A little bit, but I
You
was.
don't gotta lie. No, you don't have to lie.
A little bit.
I'm a New York legend.
Yeah.
That's clear.
That's the bubble we're
Clearly not.
New York legend. I don't know if you know. I'm in the Radio Hall of Fame. I don't know if you know.
You know DJ Clue?
Yeah.
Yeah. No hesitation.
No, that's not fair. I see what you did. That's not right.
That's Clue's son.
That's more of his age group, though. That's Clue, like when he grew up on Clue.
Clue's your
No,
age.
he's not. Clue's older than me.
Clue's like 47, bro.
That wasn't fair.
Like 3-4
That wasn't
years
fair.
older than me.
That wasn't fair what you did there.
What? No, this is Clue put Envy on though.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he learned how to DJ from Clue.
Yeah.
Oh, now you don't want to give Clue
No,
credit?
just waiting for the stat.
There's no
I
style.
was waiting for the stat. Yeah,
So
Clue-
did
me and
your-
Clue grew up on the same block in Queens, and he taught me how to DJ.
Did
Where
you
in
always
Kuwait?
know that you had? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you always know that you were gonna go to college? Because being successful at such a young age, you could have just said, "Let me just do this DJing thing. It's working for me. I don't need to go to college."
I felt like I had to. It was the thing in my house. Like I felt like everything was working toward college. So so I did, yeah.
What school did you go to?
Cornell.
Oh, you went to Cornell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, how did you get? When did you stop DJing for J.Lo and started getting into Acorns and investing? Or did you not stop? Or do you still DJ for J.Lo? I'm just
He's
curious.
still
I
DJing
did.
for J.Lo.
I'm just curious.
So I started my first company at 21. When I was in school, I did a bunch of internships, and I realized I wouldn't be good at working for people.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing my first business plan for the first company at 21 in college. And then, but I was still DJing through like 24, 25 years old. So while I was doing that and building, and it was a good kind of balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like having the stuff in the day where I was building a business and then being creative at night, and that was a good balance for me. I felt.
What was your first business?
It was the first one-stop shop for hip hop on the
Okay.
web. Yeah. So we sold everything: vinyl, fashion, all that.
What's the name of it?
One Level.
One Level. How did it do?
It did okay. We ended up shutting it down. It was in the middle of the .com kind of bubble, so we ended up shutting it down. That was a great experience. It was a painful experience, but it was a great experience. Like I didn't imagine that I would do what I considered failing, and that was hard to go through. But it kind of thickened my skin and prepared me for the things I was going to build in the future. And 21-year-old kid, like raising money, building a business, it was tough.
So you raised money for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was through your business plan. You presented that to people and were able to get investors.
Yeah.
How much
yeah.
money did you raise?
Like $1 million.
That's insane at 21. That's great.
When we went to raise the next round of funding, the world had shut down. So I was sitting there in this. We had hired 15, 20 people. We were building this thing, and I was sitting there, and I realized I had to shut it down. And that was I probably stayed extra long because of the commitment and feeling of responsibility, especially to the investors who I ended up paying back later when I sold my second company, sorry. But that was a really formative experience. Like instead of going to business school or anything like that, like I felt like building something at a young age was a good way to build that muscle and do it like in the real world.
What was your steps to get that money? Because most people, especially in our community, Black and Latino, they say they would never be able to get $1 million from anybody. So how were you able to get that $1 million at age 21 in a new business, the .com world?
Yeah. By the way, I said that too. I said I would never be able to raise anything. It was like I didn't come from money.
Mm-hmm.
I just called everybody I knew. I co-founded it with a few people. We knocked on every door. We reached out to everybody. It was just kind of going and going and going. And it was mostly friends and family and then some bankers and things like this. But I didn't think I could raise $1 either. It wasn't, I didn't have any experience doing it.
Mm-hmm.
My parents didn't come from money. So, it was really about just persistence.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the second business that you said that was successful because you sold it?
Yeah.
And before you get to that, I just want to ask you, how do you know when it's time to shut a business down? Because a lot of times you feel like this is something I'm passionate about. Maybe I just need to change this or restructure.
Yeah.
But when do you decide this just isn't working?
When you can't pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
There was literally no more money, so we had to shut it. We had to shut it down.
Right.
I could, so that was it. Like which I think is I talk to people a lot about that. Like, how do you know when the right time to move on? Because persistence is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you know? I think for me it was I just can't afford to pay the rent.
Right.
Anymore. And that was
It's just not doable.
Yeah,
We're
it's just
getting
not-
evicted.
Yeah. But I was so committed to it that I couldn't stop until I literally couldn't stop.
Right.
And what was the second business?
So that was it was called Noise, and it started actually in music, which was what I knew. We were helping labels and artists break out into new medium and new environments. But then we caught the attention of corporate America, and it became the leading product development and marketing agency for the young adult space. So we get hired basically by everybody to build new products, marketing campaigns, et cetera. And that did well. That did well. And that was, I really cut my teeth, like building, hiring, managing, learning how to operate. It was always, I didn't know what I was doing. In fact, that's been a through line in my career. Like everything I take on, I don't actually have experience in. And that sense of being uncomfortable, being comfortable in the uncomfortable, it's a little bit of a weird fetish, but it's something that
Works for you.
It works for me.
How much did you sell a company for?
Not disclosed, but
I
we
thought
do.
it was online. No.
No, we did well. We did well, and I was young, so it was.
What's the first thing you bought when you sold that company? You had to buy something stupid. One thing stupid.
No.
No. He said no.
No.
No, I didn't.
It was time to start another business.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been wearing the same clothes. I don't, actually, during the process of building it and starting to make some money, I did buy an apartment.
Which is a great investment, I'm sure, at that time.
Yeah, everybody said buy a place. What I knew was buy a place that you want to live in and that you love, and then think of it as an investment second.
Yep.
Which I think is important. For me, it was a real stretch. Like I couldn't really afford it, so the mortgage was like I was pressing myself. But I remember standing in the apartment, and it was actually in the building Benny Medina had an apartment in. So I had been there with him and Jennifer Lopez, and it was near where I grew up. And I remember looking around and thinking like, wow, this is like a dream, to have this place, and I can't really afford it.
How much was the rent back then?
The mortgage. So it was
Mortgage.
The mortgage.
Don't disrespect that man, bro.
It was about a $900,000 apartment.
Well, that's a lot. I want to
so-
say I learned the opposite. It's interesting to me that you said that buy a place that you love first and then an investment second.
Yeah.
Because I looked at it as an investment first and then a place that I love second. Because I remember when I bought my first place, my realtor said, don't think of this as your forever home. Think of this as your first home. And so the first thing I did was buy something that I thought would be a good investment, and it was a 2-family house. So I got the opposite advice, but that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. So it ended up being this thing that pushed me. Like I remember this is gonna push me, and it did, and it made me work harder.
Aspirational.
Yeah. I didn't actually end up making money on the apartment. Because
Right.
that's the thing about everybody says real estate. I think people think it's a guarantee. It's not a guarantee.
There's no investment that's a guarantee.
Right. And I sold it. It was a little break even. Like I sold it at the wrong time, but I loved the apartment, and it was an inspiration for me to push harder.
You sell it when the market fell in the 2008-ish?
Yeah.
Did you panic, or was it?
No, it was time to get a new place, and but I didn't want to try to manage 2 places in the city. It just felt like a weird thing. But I sold it basically break even, maybe a little bit of a loss.
Right.
But the experience of owning, feeling like it was mine, feeling like I was building equity, that was powerful. And the stretch was powerful. Like it really made me work harder, and that was really uncomfortable.
And paying rent would have been a complete loss anyway, because you would have owned nothing at the end of that.
Exactly.
So it's still a win.
Right.
So how do we make money, man? How do people make money with Acorn?
Well, first of all, how did he create Acorn? You're the founder of Acorn, correct?
Yeah.
So how did you find? What made you find this platform, Acorn?
So just going back, it was, I had started a couple companies before this, and I hit a point where I felt like I wanted to focus on things that give back. That felt like, not just work on things that were creative or things that I was personally passionate about, less about me, more about, and, stepping back is education, health, environment, wealth gap, arts and kids. Those were the things that I felt like were important and would be, where you should focus your time. And this was really, how do you address this problem in America that's growing and growing and growing? How do you help people save and invest and get smarter about their money and do it responsibly? Like that's the fundamental thing about Acorns is we make sure people are working to build wealth responsibly, being diversified, understanding compounding, understanding all the things about investing, prioritizing literacy, which I think is antithetical to the way most financial services companies work. So the way Acorns works is really simple. You sign up, you connect your bank, you create an investment account, and then the simplest way is we start rounding up every purchase you make to the nearest dollar and invest a spare change into the diversified investment account for you. That's it. So we do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but we focus on making sure you learn as you go. And that's a really big part of it.
Our security, I know you met him, Chris. I
Yeah.
told you about him. He has his Acorns account, and he loves it. He said he just doing the roundup, which is what you just talked about, where it rounds up your spare change. So say you spend $1.90, and then that 10 cents rounds it up to $2. That 10 cents gets invested into ETFs, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how he was able to actually save $7,000 without even thinking about it, just the spare change, and then take a vacation.
Yeah. just spare change is $35 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money, and especially because you don't feel it. And then if you add $5 a day or $20 a week or whatever, and then and you contribute to it. The one thing that I didn't know this growing up, and I don't think a lot of people know this, is frequency matters a lot. So if you're investing frequently, spare change, $5 every day to $20 every week, you benefit more from compounding, which is that your money grows on top of itself. So we really try to make it easy, simple, like frictionless. You don't, but we want to make sure you get smarter while you go.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the other functions besides just Roundup?
So there's a retirement account, so it's tax advantaged, so you can easily start saving for retirement. Same $5 a day, $20 a week. We have a full bank account that's totally different than other bank accounts. We take your paycheck and we automatically invest part of your paycheck for you. So it goes into the investment account, retirement account, and then we have a kids investment account that makes it really easy for everyday Americans to save and invest for their kids, et cetera, et cetera. So, and then financial literacy and education is a core part of it, making sure that you're learning as you go.
So I know Acorns used to have the ETFs, right, where they basically put the money into those funds for you. But now I remember you guys were working on expanding from that and being able to choose stocks.
Yeah.
So where are we at with that?
Yeah, we're in the middle of rolling out a feature called custom portfolios. So we diversify the portfolio for you, and then you can start adding individual stocks into it. But it's about long hold. So making sure you're saving and investing for the long term. It's not trading.
Okay.
And that kind of mentality of investing for the long term, even if you're buying single stocks, it's not about trading in and out of the market, right? It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. That's one of the things we like to say.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know that we've talked about Acorns up here before we even knew you as the CEO of Acorns, and a lot of people have said this has actually helped them. Now, in a time like this where people are kind of scared to invest because they might look at the stock market, because we've been talking long term a lot, and be like, okay, it's down. What do you have to say to people who are like, I've never done this before, I'm scared to do this?
I mean, I think everybody's scared to do it for the first time. I was scared to do it for the first time, but when the market's down, that's the bet. When the market's down and when it's volatile, particularly when it's down, it's on sale. I don't think people understand. So when the market was, the Dow was 36,000, it's down now 31,000 something. That's the best time to invest. Even if you were in the market and you lost some money, you should never pull out. You should stick with it, because if you look back in history, every downturn in history has ended in an upturn. If you pull out your money, then you locked in your losses.
Right.
If you stuck with it, ultimately, there's no guarantees, but every moment in history shows that the market continues to go up. So your money will go back up. You will not have lost money, and if you can, you should double down when it's down, because it's on sale.
Now, how much does it cost for Acorns for people who are like, all right, this sounds interesting, I want to get my feet wet, and jump in? How much is it for people to join? We have
3 tiers. We have $3 a month, we have $3 a month, $5 a month, and then there's a feature called Acorns Assist, which is $1 a month. So if you're having economic hardship, that's is $1.
Well, I know a lot of people that actually are into Acorn, and it helps a lot of people. I got to get my kids into Acorn. I know they have a children's program, because I think they'll really, really benefit from it. Last thing, cryptocurrency. You can also invest in cryptocurrency through Acorn, correct?
You can buy a very, very small allocation of a Bitcoin ETF. So if you're in the conservative portfolio, you can get 1% all the way up to 5% in the aggressive portfolio. So we don't allow you to trade cryptocurrencies or anything like that. It's just it's like if you thought about what a money manager or a financial advisor would advise you to do, have a very small allocation toward riskier assets. That's what we do automatically for you. So you can still have a balanced portfolio, but get a little exposure to crypto.
Absolutely.
What group of people are the least likely to invest, would you say? Because I know women, I've always heard that women invest a lot less than men do and are a lot more nervous about that.
Yeah, women are more risk averse when it comes to investing. They'll tend to save more. So we do a lot of work to try to get women to invest. Obviously, Acorns is built for everybody, but women tend to be a little more risk averse.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's probably just the way society works and how the constructs people there are, and how people develop confidence or how people are raised, things like this. I think it's unfortunate, because the truth is, the sooner everybody starts investing, the better off you'll be. And so everybody should be investing as soon as possible. I don't know exactly why. I just know it's an issue we have to confront.
Why didn't y'all go public in January like y'all supposed to?
Because the markets were tough, really tough. So we ended up staying private, and we did a private round. It was a really rough time. I think the companies that are public, companies that went public, have struggled a lot. So I'm really glad we were able to not do that.
Gotcha.
So you think that's is there a plan to go public in the future still? I know you guys did
Yeah, we'd love to go public. I mean, for us, being in control of our destiny, and being a public company, I think will be powerful for us. So we would love to do it. Right now it's tough. The markets are tough. So we're going to stay private. We're going to keep building, investing in product development. But in at some point our intention is to go public.
How does the kids plan work? Just so people know, they might be listening saying, I want to get my kids started to invest as soon as possible.
It takes like 30 seconds. So there's an account called Acorns Early. Within 30 seconds, you can open it up for one kid or all your kids. You can automatically contribute. You can start as early as birth. There's some tax advantages to it. It's really it's an amazing thing. I mean, one dream I have is is every family opening this up for their kids is at birth, because it would change the future. Like a lot of our emphasis going forward is going to be on family and kids. It's tough if you're in your 40s and your 50s. You can start saving and investing spare change. It's a really good thing to do, but doubling down for your kids and doing it as soon as they're born, or 1 or 2 or 3, plus given the power of compounding, and the earlier you start, the better off you are. There's an incredible stat so if you started doing $5 a day for your kid at birth, by 65 they would have $4.5 million at an average 8% compound rate. If you started at 21, it would be much, much, much less than that. It would be like $1.5 million. So the earlier you can start, the more powerful it is, and we want to get kids started as early, and get parents investing in their kids as early as possible.
What about people who feel like they're in debt and they don't have money to invest? What advice would you give them? Because I remember feeling like I got these student loans I have to pay off, I have to pay my rent, I have to pay my bills, I have to get to work every day, I have to eat. I just don't have any extra money left over. I have credit card bills.
I always say pay off the high interest stuff as soon as you can. Focus on the high interest credit card debt if you can. But because debt is so tough, and I think it really impacts people's emotions, and it kind of brings you down. Like even if you can do a little bit of spare change, invest a little bit to bring hope into the picture, to give a little bit of optimism. It's a little counterintuitive, and a financial advisor would not. They would say pay down all your debt first, but paying down your debt and being saddled with debt is really upsetting. And so to have some hope and a little bit of optimism is great. So I think investing a tiny bit alongside of paying your high interest debt down is a good strategy for people to balance, not just functionally but emotionally.
Yeah, that's what gave me confidence to start investing more when I was younger, is to we had like a 401k match at work, and those are things people should always ask about. So you're basically getting free money from your job when they're doing that match, and then you don't really notice it so much out of your check because it's like pre-tax.
Yeah.
And so that made me feel like, okay, I can see some of this money starting to add up, and you start feeling like one day I will be able to retire.
Yeah. The financial services industry doesn't focus on the emotion, and so much of money is emotion. These feelings you have, shame, embarrassment, discomfort. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to take action because you don't know what you're doing, because it's complex and scary. And so it's all very oriented around the functional, right? But like it's such the business is oriented around the functional, the products, but it's such an emotional thing.
Right. You see the CFO of Bed Bath & Beyond,
right,
just down the block. He allegedly jumped out of the building while his wife was inside, and that's because of some issues that he was having, with the stock dump situation that he had. Well,
they said money problems are at the root of divorce, domestic violence, abuse, depression, all these things. So I like to approach it from the perspective of the emotional side of things. Obviously, it's a functional thing. We all, people need money. But you need to consider the impact it has on people's lives and how they. So it's easy to say, well, you should pay off all your high interest debt, but you can spend 40 years doing that.
Right.
And that's 40 years of being depressed about debt.
And not having anything saved.
And not having any sense of hope and optimism and something to look forward to. So that's, I think it's important to have that balance.
Right.
All right. Well, we appreciate you for joining us, and we've been talking about Acorns up here for a while now. So
I've been trying to get
we
Noah to
appreciate
come
you.
up here. I'm like, Noah, when can we get you on the Breakfast Club? So I'm excited that you came through to talk to us.
I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well,
Very
thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you.
It's Noah Kerner. It's the Breakfast
And how can
Club.
people
Come on.
sign up? So they know there's an app, right? Acorns is the app, so you can go to the app store.
Yeah, there's an iOS app, Android app, web app. It's Acorns with an S. A lot of people say Acorn, but it's Acorns with an S, and it's really easy to sign up. It takes a few minutes.
Acorns is like a little, and just so people know, what is the acorns? What does that represent?
So tiny acorns grow into mighty oak trees. Acorns are what grow. So that the whole idea of acorns is helping you grow for the future, and the metaphor is tiny acorns grow into oak trees, and so our thing is grow your oak. So it's a powerful idea.
All right. Well, thank you, Noah.
Thank you, Noah.
Appreciate
The
it.
Breakfast Club. Good morning.